Four dangerous prisoners who overpowered their guards, hijacked the minibus taking them to court and escaped are still on the run tonight. Police say the men shouldn't be approached. They got away while the bus was travelling from Canterbury Prison to Tunbridge Wells Court. They abandoned the bus and their escort at Woolwich in South London. Tonight the civilian driver, Mr. Arthur West, said he put up no resistance when the men made their break. "I wasn't going to get my head bashed in for nothing," he said. Joan Thurkettle reports.
The minibus was found just before lunch, abandoned in a car park beneath a block of flats in Woolwich, with the prison officers and the driver handcuffed together and to the seats. The prisoners, all four charged with armed robbery, were being taken in a hired minibus from Canterbury Prison in Kent to the Magistrates' Court at Tunbridge Wells for a remand hearing. Just outside Sittingbourne on the M2 motorway, they overpowered the officers and ordered the driver to stop. After getting the keys to their handcuffs, they bundled their captives into the back and drove on to Woolwich. It's not clear exactly how they got control. The police will only say there wasn't a struggle. The escape happened in broad daylight, but no one appears to have seen the bus going into the car park or the prisoners making their getaway. They simply disappeared into the maze of flats. Police officers spent most of the afternoon talking to the prison officers and the bus driver. At first it was thought that a car had followed the bus and the prisoners made their getaway in that. Now the police say that seems unlikely. Joan Thurkettle, News at 10 in Woolwich.
Prince Charles says he hopes Britain's police will stay unarmed. He was speaking in the Midlands less than a fortnight after blank shots were fired near the Queen. The Prince said, "Long may it last in this country that we have a police force that is not armed and goes about its duty in such a splendid and friendly way." Every time he returned from an overseas visit, he said, "I thank God I'm British." Tonight, the Prince and Lady Diana were in London's West End for the royal premiere of the latest James Bond film, For Your Eyes Only. Martin Lewis was there too.
The crowd that had waited outside for several hours to watch the stars arrive saved their biggest cheers for the royal couple, who were accompanied by Princess Margaret. Both ladies were in red. Clearly, Lady Diana's great love of the colour is catching. Prince Charles and Lady Diana meet 007 and company. It was a publicist's dream, and no doubt Cubby Broccoli, the producer who's made millions out of the Bond films, would have signed them up if they had not been otherwise engaged. His prosperous smile was assisted by the knowledge that even without royal patronage, earlier Bond films have been seen by well over half the entire population of the world. Star of the film, Roger Moore, whose fee this time was over £1 million, presented the Prince with a solid gold digital watch, which plays the James Bond theme at the touch of a button. No excuses now for not getting to the church on time. What the debonair Mr. Roger Moore had to say to Lady Diana on this occasion remained strictly for her ears only. She had only a few quick words with 007, but as she was sitting beside him during the film, they had plenty of time for more conversation later. A posy of flowers completed the James Bond team's encounter with royalty. A glittering evening, all in aid of charity. Even the programmes cost £5, with Lady Diana, by common consent, clearly outshining the stars. You have to admit that when royalty treat themselves to an evening out in the front circle, they do it in style. Martin Lewis, News at 10, at the Odeon, Leicester Square.
There'll be a special programme on tonight's royal premiere on ITV after News at 10. Prince Charles and Lady Diana are expected to make Kensington Palace their London home after their wedding next month. They'll have a newly decorated apartment including several reception rooms, a master bedroom, guest bedrooms, a nursery and living quarters for staff. Several other members of the royal family, including Princess Margaret, have apartments in the palace.
The youth accused of firing blank shots near the Queen at the Trooping of the Colour ceremony is being held in solitary confinement. 17-year-old Marcus Sargent, who made another brief appearance at Bow Street Court, is being kept in a prison hospital, isolated from other prisoners. It's normal procedure when a prisoner is being kept under observation. He was remanded in custody until July the 1st.
The Royal Navy frigate HMS Dido was sent to the aid of a British gas tanker which had been stopped by Algerian patrol boats off Oran. The Algerians fired rifle shots into the air to attract its attention, they said. But the 22,000-ton tanker Methane Princess later docked safely before the Dido arrived. The frigate then went back to her normal course.
The Ministry of Defence has been criticised by an all-party committee of MPs for paying too much, too soon, for arms from countries like France and the United States. They say it's cost Britain millions. The Ministry was also quizzed about nearly £500,000 paid into a Swiss bank account to help British arms exports. They've denied it was intended for bribes. Here's our political correspondent, David Walter.
The Defence Ministry's problems stem from the insistence of many foreign governments on payment for weapons in advance. The Americans in particular want money not only to pay for the goods, but also to meet claims by contractors if a deal's called off. By March 1980, according to the report, Britain's credit for the purchase of American arms ran to $140 million, around £70 million. As a result, Britain lost millions of pounds in interest charges. The MP's report strongly attacks the ministry for not keeping proper track of the money. We were surprised to learn, they say, that such large amounts could have been paid without the ministry maintaining full and accurate records. The deal with France over the joint Jaguar aircraft project also cost Britain more than it should have done. According to the report, delays in getting our money back cost this country £3 million. The ministry have now apparently improved their procedures. The MPs say they hope their new system will prove effective. The implication's clear. It had better. The committee also looked at the allegation that a sum of £500,000 paid to a consultant on behalf of the ministry was for bribes. The ministry claimed that in some countries they had to work through a local agent, but they wouldn't countenance bribery. They did admit that they couldn't be absolutely sure, however, what happened to the money in the end. Jeremy Hands suggested to the committee chairman that the government would have to guarantee that commissions aren't used to pay bribes in the future.
Well, I think arising out of the questions we put and out of our report, and given that we have these officials back before us regularly, they, however tight they've been before on the paying of commissions, I use the word commissions in quotes, they will have to be even more careful in the future.
Next Tuesday, Israel elects a new government. Mr. Begin's Likud party, ahead in the polls, is running tours to the occupied West Bank to try and consolidate that lead. A special report in Part 2. The longest single-span bridge in the world opens in controversy, and John McEnroe behaves like a perfect gentleman in a couple of minutes.
Is your hair suffering from neglect? Elseve Conditioners by L'Oreal put the beauty back in your hair. Choose the one that's right for you. Elseve Balsam to enrich dry hair. Elseve Blow Dry to protect overheated hair. Elseve Oil Free to tone up greasy hair. Elseve your hair to beauty. Elseve Conditioners by L'Oreal, because you're worth it.
We Japanese learned a thing or two from studying European car. We're most impressed with a Volkswagen Polo. Very well built, very reliable. We're also impressed that way Volkswagen make Jetta not only tough old boot, but give it big old boot too. Yes, we Japanese learn to become very choosy about cars we build, but even choosier about cars we buy. Volkswagen Golf still #1 imported car in Japan.
Lilt, the totally tropical taste.
Different.
Lilt, the totally tropical taste. Lilt, with a totally tropical taste.
Refreshing.
Lilt, with a totally tropical taste.
Pineapple and grapefruit.
Lilt.